There was no kicking back on the final day of the draft as the 49ers kept busy with several trades in addition to adding 3 new pieces to the roster. But first things first, we got to talk about some big news that happened today. Joe Staley's decision to retire, a beloved veteran both on and off the field. Can you talk a little bit about Staley's exceptional career and what he meant to this organization?
I can't speak enough about it. You know, I've long admired this organization. It's part of the reason I'm here. But really got to come to know and enjoy Joe Staley for who he is as a player, and probably more importantly for who he is as a person in the last 3 years. I had met him previously in my broadcast career. You always had to have Joe in on a production meeting because it was so entertaining and informative. But Kiana, he's been unbelievable. And, you know, when Kyle and I came in here, it wasn't instant success, and we wanted to build it the right way. And you need the guys that are most respected in the locker room to have your back. And that's hard to do with a guy who's been through it. And, you know, there had been a few coaching changes behind that. But I think right away, Joe felt what we were doing and was a believer. But he was very vocal in that and in the locker room in his own way. And he had our back, and we'll forever be indebted to Joe Staley. You know, this is bittersweet. We're happy for him and so respectful of his decision, but it's bittersweet because I know Joe wishes his body could allow him to play more, because just coming into this year, even he felt as good as he's ever felt, but that sometimes happens. And so we respect that. He just made the all-decade team, which I think speaks to the level of play that he had. And you know, there's going to be a lot of Joe Staley talk when we get back to normal. We're going to give him a proper, you know, departure from our organization, but I shouldn't call it even a departure, because he's going to, Joe lives in the area. He's going to be a part of the 49ers for a long time. And so I'm sorry I'm rambling, but he's a guy it's easy to talk about.
I think I speak on behalf of all of the faithful. The 49ers fans want Staley to be a part of this organization for absolute ever. But it appears as if his retirement kind of set a trade in motion for a 7-time Pro Bowler in Trent Williams, a devastating run blocker, stout in pass protection, gave up just 1 sack in his last 2 seasons playing. How do you envision Trent helping the 49ers pick up where they left off in 2019?
Well, immensely. I mean, he had big shoes to fill with Joe, and it's not often that you can kind of transition from one all-decade team to a guy who, you know, is in that same ilk. And so, you know, very fortunate, very thankful to Ron Rivera, who I dealt with a lot on this with the Redskins, for his patience and diligence. You know, it's been close for a couple days, but there was a lot of interest in Trent around the league, and you know, just very fortuitous timing that right when Joe kind of came to a decision, the Trent situation heated up, and so we had an answer. There were really good ones in the tackle. In the tackles in the draft as well, but we wanted to focus on, you know, Kinlaw was just a guy we had our eye on. So as good as those tackles were, and then we got hit with the Joe news, you know, here was an option where we could have a fill-in, but also go address the other areas. We lost DeForest Buckner, and so we're very happy to have Trent Williams. Kyle's obviously coached him. We're talking about a different level athlete, a very special athlete and football player, and a guy who loves the game, and we're really, really blessed to have him.
In addition to Trent, you picked up 3 new offensive players in the draft, and we're going to start with Kolton McKibben in the 5th round. What did you guys like in a guy like Kolton, and where do you envision him fitting along the offensive line?
Yeah, Kolton is a guy that, you know, there's always guys that you hear people, the more you watched him, the more you were impressed. And, you know, it reminded me a lot of the evaluation of Justin School last year. You know, he just always ended up doing his job. And there may be sexier picks. I'm not talking about the person, the looks, but just as a player, because that's not always the sexiest of positions. But, you know, Kolton is just a really good football player who showed a versatility to be able to play tackle. He's a guy that, had we not got the Trent Williams deal, we had zeroed in as a guy who could potentially come in and contribute this year. So we feel like we have really good flexibility at both tackle spots. And then we think he's got the skills that should translate to being able to move inside as well. And you always want that with offensive linemen. So it was a really good pickup for us with Kolton.
I got to watch a little tape on tight end Charlie Warner. I'm going to be honest, and I see why he was highly regarded as a run blocker at Georgia. I'm assuming that was appealing to you and your team, especially when considering the 49ers' emphasis in the run game.
It was, and he didn't catch a ton of balls down in, at Georgia. They were very talented at wide receiver, and I think that's the reason why. It's why you get out and go down to even smaller all-star games like the NFLPA Bowl down in Pasadena. The day we were there, I think he caught 15 balls all year in Georgia. He caught like 15 in practice that day. And so you want a guy, obviously, in this offense, in any offense, that can do a multitude of things. And what we saw that day is maybe Charlie's a little better than the numbers might speak to. And, given the opportunity, we believe he can ascend there. This is a very tight end friendly offense. I think everyone sees that. And tight ends are excited to play with us, but we feel really good about Charlie's ability to block, but also we think he's might surprise some people with his ability to contribute in the passing game. So we were very excited when he was there. Charlie's was really needed for us too.
Talking about the passing game, I'm going to talk about Jauan Jennings coming into the draft. There were questions about his speed, but I just got off a call with him, and he prides himself on being the yak monster, getting those yards after the catch. His words, not mine. What stands out about his ability to force missed tackles, and where he also ranked first among wide receivers with 30 missed tackles last year? Is that something that stood out while scouting him?
He loves the game, and that, oftentimes you have to talk with players and all that and really get to know them, which we did. Wes Welker did a tremendous job. Really getting into who Jauan was. But all you got to do in terms of a football player is turn on the tape. I mean, he plays with a passion that, was at the top of the draft class. I mean, he plays with a ferocity, kind of my style. I think he could play safety. I really do. And I think he's one of those receivers who can not only play receiver, but can contribute in special teams because of that. But you spoke to the broken tackles. I mean, here's a guy who plays with elite physicality. He runs hot. He plays with passion. He does everything with passion. We like those kind of guys, the competitive greatness. And so, Jauan's going to have to come in here and find his way in a very competitive room. But we felt at that point to be able to acquire Jauan and what he brings to the table. He's our kind of guy in terms of the player. There's some things, on the field, in terms of the discipline and all that. But that's when you get a strong team of character. You can help guys because he's not a bad guy. His emotions get the best of him at times. And, we feel comfortable about Jauan's ability to come in and really be a big part of our team.
Year after year, you guys have found those gems after the draft. I'm going to talk about guys like Kendrick Bourne, Emmanuel Mosley, Ross Dwelley being some of those that come to mind. But with the draft at a close, what are you hoping to add in the undrafted free agent pool?
Well, I really do believe, that's where the synergy we have between coaching staff, between personnel, and the way we all work together, that's where it gives us the later round. The Javon Kinlaws, it's not real tough to scout those guys. I mean, you see the massive person, the athleticism. Sometimes you have to work a little harder on the back end guys. I mean, one comes to mind right off the bat, Matt Breida. And Matt, we moved on from today. We traded to Miami. Miami was really eager to add him, and that was really tough for us. I think it speaks a little bit to how much we really liked Kolton McKibben. But Breida is a great example of a guy we unearthed our first year as an undrafted free agent, and he's been a big part of what we've done here. And so it's a big part of your team. I played with guys like Rod Smith, who borderline Hall of Fame player, who was an undrafted free agent. One thing Kyle and I have always said to our players, we don't care where you were drafted, if you were drafted, we're going to give you an opportunity. And if you earn the opportunity to make the team, we won't let that stand in the way. So I think there's great opportunity. We're, I've just left our scouts, and we kind of are at the back stages of wrapping up our free agent class. We're really excited about that, and I'm sure you'll be learning more about that. But we'll add to our team there, and very excited about the guys that we were able to acquire.
John, congrats on another successful draft. get some rest, get a drink or something. We're looking forward to what's next. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Kiana. I appreciate it.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.